Ladies and gentlemen, the long awaited, highly anticipated. We've talked to the father, we've talked to the brothers, we've talked to the wife, the children, and here we have him. Steve Westbrook, ladies and gentlemen. Man,
Good
you were
morning,
a
Kev. Good morning. How
good
are you?
top of the morning to you, man.
Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
you were a hard catch, baby. So, so thanks for doing.
Oh, yeah. Thanks for having me. Thanks for
Yeah.
having me.
Well, all of our mutual friends says, "Hey, man, you got to tell the story about George Mihalovich's soccer school
Oh,
because
yeah.
you're one of the only ones around."
Well, I'll tell you what, Mr. Mihalovich was just a way ahead of his time. Fantastic coach. I'll tell you how I got to know him. I was probably about third grade, and of course, I went everywhere with my father. And he came home one day and he goes, "Hey, listen, tomorrow night Cooters is playing White Star." And I'm like, "Oh man, that's great." I was only in third grade, but I'd go with him and we'd go down to he goes, "Make sure you get your homework done," because the game was probably 7:30 or whatever. It's Crowley Park. And we only lived down the street. So we go down to comes Tuesday or Wednesday, whatever day that was. We go down there, and my dad's standing at the top of the hill talking with all his friends, and then some of the kids were down there. And as usual, you're playing a little hot shot game behind the goal or on the side of the goal. And all of a sudden, this guy comes up to me, and he's dressed up in an overcoat with a shirt and tie on. He goes, and he's watching me, and he goes, "Come here, boy." And I'm like, "Okay, yes, sir." And he goes, "I watch you play soccer." He goes, "You play soccer?" I said, "Yes, sir." He goes, "Are you here down by yourself?" I said, "Oh, no, sir. My father's right up the top of the hill." And he goes, "Go get him." So I run up to get the top of the hill. I bring my dad down, and he goes, "Yes, I George Mihalovich, and I want your boy to come to my soccer school." Well, my dad knows who George Mihalovich was. I didn't know at the time, and this is way before cell phone. So my dad gives him my number or our number, and he goes, "Soccer school start on Tuesday." He come Tuesday, Thursday, and then on Saturday. So it's like, okay. So George calls, a couple days before, and tells my mom what time, because my dad, we only have one car. My mom doesn't drive, so my mom, George says we train at Tuesday 5 o'clock or whatever time it was. So my mom's got four kids. So she has to take us in a stroller. Strollers my little brother down. We pick up a bus down by Bevo Mill, so that's about a mile walk. We get off, and of course the trainings were all at Concordia Seminary behind 6501 Clayton Road, which many of our listeners know where that is. And we go there, and my mom takes us on a Tuesday, then a Thursday, and then of course my dad, he drives us on a Saturday because that's when he's off work. And then Mr. Mihalovich says, "Where you live?" And my dad tells him, "Oh, I live, just on the other side of the park," and he lives on the other side of the park. So he goes, "From now on, I pick up your boy, and I take him to training." So, next week comes around, Mr. Mihalovich picks me up in his little Volkswagen, and we take off. And he goes, "I have to stop." I said, "Okay." I don't say any words. I'm in the back seat of his little Volkswagen. I'm a little scared, a little nervous by him. I mean, he was built, and he was so muscular and just a very kind of an intimidating guy. And so we stop and we pick up this other guy on the way. And I'm like, "Oh my God, it's this great, unbelievable player." It was Tommy Malley. He jumps in the car. We all know Mal's. Most of us know Tommy. And about a month before we played his team, I was playing for St. Stephen's. That's a CYC team playing against Watterson Schumachers, which was a core league team. And of course, Tommy, he probably scored 4 goals, 5 goals, and had 3 assists, and they killed us. And he gets in the car, and I'm like, "Oh my God, this guy is so darn good. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm in the same class with this guy. And Tommy gets in the car. He goes, "Hey, how you doing?" He's Mr. Talkative, like a fourth grader. He was ahead of his time. And he turns around, shakes my hand. Tommy Malley. I'm like, oh, it's I tell him Steve Westbrook, and then Mr. Mihalovich takes us to the Concordia Seminary, and we go down, and he must have 30 to 40 soccer balls. They're all miter soccer balls, and we're like, oh my gosh. And he teaches us how to pump up the balls, because he's got all this other stuff to do to get the fields ready, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So me and Tommy, we learn, and we pump up the balls the next training, and we bring up the balls, me and Tommy, but the classes are just unbelievable. I mean, he was so far ahead of his time. You think about modern day, the club teams, or the clubs around here call it academies. Well, this was like, he called his a soccer school. It was like an academy. He was a welder, and he built a wall in the back, the soccer wall in the back. I mean, it had to be the first of its kind, at least around St. Louis. And he would paint it. He had it painted, and he'd have number 1 in the corner, number 2 in the opposite corner, A down lower, and B. He had a goalie that was like, painted on there, and he would teach us how to, shoot the ball correct, and the way we hit the ball, all these different drills that we did that were just way beyond, our time. We didn't know all this kind of stuff. The first thing we started off doing was juggling a soccer ball. And I'm like, oh my God, I didn't know how to juggle a soccer ball. I picked the ball up in my hand, and, I juggled 2 or 3 times. I'm like, oh, I'm doing good. Now Tommy Malley, that kid, he was way ahead of his time. He was already doing like 50 or 60. And, he was really good at it. And, but, you learn from how to, dribbling a soccer ball outside of your right foot, outside of your left foot, inside, outside, And then not only did we have that kind of stuff, but he had bought all the school. You showed up in a white a white shirt, and it said on there Missouri Mules on the left hand side, black shorts, white socks. And then he had a special way of tying your shoes. So we tie your shoes. The shoestrings had to be on the outside for some reason. It was for when you struck the ball with your instep. It was so the shoelaces, didn't make the ball do whatever. If you had the shoes tied on the outside, then it was better for passing. That's the way he described it. So he would tie your shoes a certain way. We were so ahead of it. He had us do so much stuff. Here's a perfect drill. We played, after our drills, we would do a game or a scrimmage or 5v5, 6v6. No talking. What did that teach you? You had to know where the ball was coming. When you had to be able to pass, know where you're going to pass the ball before the ball came to you, right?
Yeah.
And you had to, after you pass, you had to move. It was just things like that. Now, a guy like Tommy, he never shut up. So he would always say, I'd be on Tommy's side, and he'd say, Stevie. And then, of course, Mr. Mihalovich, he had that whistle. He'd blow the whistle. He goes, Mel. He called Tommy, Mel, you run to Hong Kong. And we're like, what the heck is Hong Kong? We're playing on a field. So where Hong Kong was, it was like doing a lap around a field. Okay. But I was so intimidated by Mr. Mihalovich. I never had to run to Hong Kong. And as the class grew, like Mike Powers joined the class, and we were 2 peas in a pod. We were so quiet. We never said anything, during the trainings or anything like that. The next of the week, Roy Thie shows up, and Roy and Mals, they were just unbelievable. They were doing the drills. Well, this one drill where you had 2 sticks, and they were like, let's say they were broomsticks, but they were much better than that. And you're about 10 yards apart. You hold this broomstick, and at the same, and Mr. Mahalovich would blow the whistle, and you would run and catch the other broomstick before it fell. It just taught, it was working on your quickness. Well, those two knuckleheads, what they did, they were so smart. They buried the broomsticks. They buried it. They had it knocked into the ground. So they were like straight up. They would never fall down. And finally, Mr. Mahalovich looked over. He goes, "Oh my God, what are they doing?" He was wondering what they were doing. Well, it's because they had him buried in the ground. So he goes, T. He called Roy T, because he couldn't say his H's, he couldn't say his W's. He called me Westbrook. He couldn't say Westbrook, but he'd say, "Mal T, off to Hong Kong." He'd make those guys run to Hong Kong, and that's what I'm saying. A lot of us guys never fooled around, but Mal, Tommy, and Roy, they were they were the best.
Oh,
but then the class kept growing and growing. Next thing I know, I mean, Roy's in high school perspective, Roy's a senior when I'm a freshman. So, he's a freshman. You're looking up to everybody that's ahead of you. At least I did. Roy was so technically advanced when he got to George's. I mean, we'd have that soccer wall and we'd work on, okay, hit number one. Well, Roy, he could hit number one right away. It'd take me 5-6 times, hit number one. Okay, Roy. Okay, T, hit number two right away. Boom. Okay, T, hit A. He was so advanced, at doing that. And then a week later, Denny Doherty shows up from he played at Rosary.
yeah.
Yeah, what a super player, and what a great guy. And he was just like that too. And we would do all these different drills that just made us so, we were technically, if it wasn't for Mr. Mahalovich, I mean, he taught us so much, how to use the outside of your right, outside of your left, bending balls. Then he bought, and he was a welder with his professional life. He built he welded these goals, and they were, you put them together and then you take them apart. So like I said, me and Tommy for at least 3 or 4 years, we would go every class, I don't know, Tuesday or Thursday. And of course we were in charge of putting the goals together, pumping the balls. Of course, Tommy would say, "Westy, you take care of that. Okay." Males, And then he'd run up and say, "Yeah, we got it all down, Mr. George." But some of the other things that he did at Concordia Seminary, if it rained, we trained inside in the gym, and we did all the different drills, and then played hot sock and everything. But he also, Mr. Mahalovich, in there, they had a trampoline, and he'd have somebody come in and give us special trampoline lessons in order to do, learn how to do flips, just landing, the different ways you land on after you kick the ball, all this type of things. There was a weight room in there, okay, and we started early lifting weights. I was probably in 5th grade, lifting weights. It was on a machine, nothing free weights, but he would start us on weights. Then he had this lady come in who was in the Olympics, and she was either she was I don't know what she did, but she was working on what we would call modern day yoga with all these different stretches. You think that's all stupid, but he was just so far ahead of his time. And then we would watch films of like European games, mainly a lot of Red Star games, because he came from Yugoslavia, and Red Star playing against, I don't know, Manchester United or somebody like that. And we would watch these games, and then after you're watching these games, you'd go out and do some training, and it was just incredible.
Yeah.
And we had this one time where Mr. Mahalovich said, "Okay, there's a game coming on this Saturday. I want you to watch game, and I need you to do a report. And the winner who does report gets a steak dinner." Well, I didn't know what he meant, so I'm doing this whole game, this whole film. I'm like, "Oh my God, number 9 passes to 8, 8 passes to 7. Well, that's not what he wanted, but he didn't get mad at me. But Roy Thee did this synopsis of the game, and it was perfect. Like Manchester United controlled the ball. Uh, you know, and did they was able to beat Red Stars defense because they played a flat back four. It was just an incredible type of thing that Mr. Mihalovich was looking for, and it was just he just made us think of just outside the box of what we were used to, with the CYC team or Corey League team, but just taught us so much, how to bend a soccer ball, with the outside of your foot, the inside of your foot, proper way to heading. Well, we were able to head it back then in third or fourth or whatever grade we were in, not like today. Um, he had this pendulum built and taught us how to jump and head the ball, but it was just
Oh,
incredibly above of what we're doing. um, I just can't say enough for him, and if you ask anybody who went there, he just taught everybody so much. He had us do he taught us how to play chess, because chess is a game where you're thinking before, against a person. You got to think ahead of what's the next step. So he always thought of chess, and the other sport was like tennis, of just the movement and thinking ahead of people. So like I said, it was an incredible experience. I was there probably, I don't know, I want to say at least 6 years with Mr. Mahalovic. And yeah, I just enjoyed it so much. I met so many guys there. Like I just mentioned three guys to you, but there were so many other players there that were there. Donnie Abishot. Oh my God! When I next thing I know, Donnie Abishot, we're playing, and he shows up. Oh my God! I mean, what an incredible player. And then some. Then Mr. Mihalovich would bring in some um, older coaches that would, he was teaching them. Example, Fran Rich, who was a longtime coach at with the Dolphins and slash Emo's Pizza. And he was there in the same class with us, and he would take notes, and then he would go back and use those drills with Emos and or Emos and the Dolphins. And but who else was there? Like Greg Villa. Oh my God, I mean, yeah, what a fantastic. That's how I met. That's how I knew Greg. I mean, I knew him from earlier days, from the CSMAC days, but you're 2 years behind him, and you're out in the field playing with him and Abishan, and like I said, Mal's, Denny Doherty, Roy, a lot of guys, that were older. I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm in the same field with those guys. And it just helped me incredibly, always playing up. But with George, he was just, incredible. He was very disciplined, right? You shined your shoes. You had to wear that, white, the stuff that he gave you, the uniform he gave you. If you came out of uniform, you were, he, where's your stuff, and he'd be all over you. So, like I said, it was an incredible experience for myself and my family.
wow. Well, I know you and those guys that you mentioned, and they are separate. They are a difference. They,
Oh yeah.
there was a difference between you guys and others. And I, as a team, went down there to play a scrimmage against you guys.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
And just what a jaw dropping experience.
Yeah. Without it.
Yeah,
Without a doubt.
the locker room.
The locker room, yes.
Oh my God! The old school locker room that you said, my
Yes.
God, these this is like Manchester Red Star. They're all
Yeah.
and
Early on.
yeah, and then going out on the pitch. What did they take a vacuum cleaner over
Oh
the
my gosh, yeah, it was incredible. I mean, like you just said, you're in a locker room at the Concordia Seminary, and then you have to walk up these steps to the field, and the field it was small, but it was incredibly cut. If George, if it was getting long, George, Mr. Mihalovich had the power, I guess. I don't know how, but he'd have them cut the grass, and I mean, it wasn't like Concordia Seminary was George Milovich's place, but he thought of it as his own place. That place was immaculate. He'd have it lined, manicured. It was incredible.
Well,
I can't.
I knew Concordia Seminary as Mihalovich's home to mules
Yes,
before I
exactly.
knew that they were a Lutheran seminary.
Right. I know. Oh yeah. I mean, and it was just incredible to be there. You're thinking, oh my gosh, because you you go from playing there to go down to Crownlet Park and play with your team before he actually had, where he actually put teams into the league. It was the soccer school, but you're playing on grass like that, and then go down to Crownlet Park 2 days, the next day and play on no grass. It was incredible. So
It,
yeah, Mr. Mahalik was
no,
something.
no grass was okay. It was the rocks that were the
Yeah, the
problem,
rocks. That's
and,
right.
and the broken glass.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh
Yes,
man!
yeah,
Wow.
but yeah, but it
Well,
was great 'cause when, like I said, when Mr. Mihaljevic would pick me up and take me, my dad, who coached at CSMAC, it was funny. He would pick up Joey, which was George's son, and he would practice over at Green and Robert. So my dad would be picking up Joey while Mr. Mihaljevic would be picking up me, and we had that relationship there. So it was
beautiful.
it was really good. Yeah, yeah. So
Well, up up north, it was
yeah,
White Star was kind of like the team that you could play for
uh-huh.
because Kudus was South Side only
Yeah,
type of thing,
right.
and so the White Star was like the standard. White Star, you played for White Star, and then talk about the uniforms that he used.
Yes.
Yeah,
Oh my gosh.
that with those big numbers in the back, the European
Yep.
style,
Oh
and
yeah.
they would take the tops and clean them.
Yep. Yep.
Uh,
Right.
uh,
What and I know Pat McBride was on that team and
yeah, yeah.
Carl Gentili, the Bazzani brothers.
Oh,
I mean,
name drop. Yeah,
golly, Carl Schwarzen,
there you
Jack
go.
Wiley.
There
I
you
mean,
go.
all the gosh, they were so good. And of course back then the coach like Frito, he would wear, how they would wear a suit and tie. Mr. Mahovich was wearing a suit and tie like you see in, like Sir Alex Ferguson wearing a suit and
Yeah,
tie. You know?
yeah.
I mean, they were just dressed to the tilt back then. And it's like, oh my gosh.
Right.
We don't have that obviously anymore, that
Well,
kind of stuff. But
I
you
can.
know,
Can you shine a pink shoe?
no, that's a good point. Exactly. Everything was black back then, and no shoes were shined. I mean, everybody shined their
Yeah,
shoes, and if you didn't, I mean, my dad, he'd even say, "Hey, those shoes are dirty. Get those shoes shined." And
yeah.
of course, Mr. Malvich, you had to have those shoes shined.
Oh yeah.
So,
I gotta find out. I gotta bring a shoe with me around. So if I meet up with you, I gotta. Hey, how'd you tie those shoes?
oh, it's on the outside. Yeah, I'll have to show you.
Yeah,
Yeah, it
it's
was.
really something, man.
Yeah, oh
I,
yeah, and
when
shin
you,
guards. You had to wear shin guards too. You
yeah,
know.
uh huh,
And that was right. You had to it was you had to do it. Now Tommy, he would just pull his socks up, and then George would say, Tommy or Mal, where's your shin guards? Oh, I got them on, George. And then he'd go over there and kick them. You know,
go to go to
well,
Hong
whack.
Kong.
Yeah, right. Go to Hong Kong. And then make him go down and get his shin guards and put them on. And you had to be dressed to the T. You had to be in uniform. Everything was in uniform. And I'll tell you, on Saturday mornings, like our Tuesday Thursday class would scrimmage the Monday Wednesday class. That's how I got to know Darty and uh, and Donnie Abishan, because they were in the other class until our classes started getting together. But he had us walk out in a game like they do that you watch on EPL. We both come out walking out together, and then you split off to the right, and then you'd wave to the parents that were there. And this is just a little scrimmage, you
Right,
know.
right.
And he just was way, and it was so cool. You're thinking, oh my God, this is how they do it Europe or wherever. And
Exactly.
oh yeah, yeah. And you're thinking, oh, this is big time,
Yeah.
And then of course, Mr. Mihalovich was the coach of the Stars too. So when you went to the Stars, oh, there's our coach.
Yeah.
And but I forgot to tell you what else he did. Each training, every week, he'd have Don Popovic come out and he would do some training with us. He had Norb Perjaba. You remember him? He was a winger.
Yeah.
Casey Frankowitz, Mike Kalichian, Joe Pills, Pat McBride. All those guys that played for the Stars that we used to go down to, the old Bush Stadium and
Yeah.
watch.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, they're at our training.
Mm.
Like you're like in awe. I mean,
Yeah.
I was in awe when I first got into class with Tommy, and then now I'm in awe with all these different ex,
Yeah.
pro players coming out and teaching us something. It was
Wow.
fantastic, you know.
Well, there is a difference, when
Oh yeah,
all the people that went there, all the players that went there and graduated from there, is
yeah.
really something. But
Oh
but
yeah.
you have had consecutively great coaches all throughout your career, and
Oh my God.
you're even a coach now, and you're giving back to the game. Do
Oh
you
yeah.
do you use some of their methods?
Oh, without a doubt, without a doubt. I mean, I make sure that our guys wear their gear to train. We have to have a gold shirt, black, and I make sure they do that. The shin guards, some of the kids get away with it. I prefer them to wear shin guards, but the modern game now is, it's too cool to just wear your. And I said, okay, you guys get kicked. That's going to be on you. Don't blame me. But we do trainings where there's no fooling around. You're out here. This is not social hour. You're out here to learn something. You only have an hour and a half. You guys can, we want you guys to be close. We want you guys to hang around, and they are the current team that I coach. They're all a close bunch of kids, but we don't allow fooling around. It's me and my dad who still does, 89. He puts the cones down. He does the warm up. We do the drills together. A lot of the drills are similar to what we learned when we were kids from Mr. Mihalovich or Mr. Mickler or whoever that were my coaches, Fran Rich, and they were similar to what George was doing. And we stick to it. We're not there to reinvent the wheel, but we're just reinforcing. You got to do the basics. You got to learn how to pass the ball correctly. You got to learn how to trap the ball. A lot of kids nowadays, they want to run before they even before they can walk. So it's teaching the right way, and hopefully we're teaching the right way. There's always something we can learn as a coach as well. We watch a lot of different videos. Mr. Mickler will shoot me these texts almost daily, and it's very appreciative of what he does for me. But and then my dad's got these books and these memories. He'll come out and just do a different. It's always a different drill, but it's always something that pertains to something we in the game. Okay,
Absolutely.
so right, so in the game he'll watch and he'll take notes and hey, this kid's not over. This wingback hasn't been overlapping. He's got space. So at training, we'll have a kid, that hey, after you pass the ball, you're not done. Your job's not done. Keep going forward. Overlap. Talking is very important. But the drills that we do are all similar to what I learned as a kid. And
Wow.
yeah, so I'm just passing on something that I was taught, and hopefully that when these kids can become coaches someday, hopefully they'll do the similar.
Yeah. Yeah.
Obviously there'll be different drills or whatever, but
Yeah.
hopefully they can give back to what we're doing. I don't have a kid on the team. I have no relative. We just love the game, and it's great. It's priceless for me. Because I'm with my father still.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, man.
it's fantastic. So
Oh, off the
yeah,
charts.
yeah,
And that was the real deal about who are you? And then they would tell you, like
yes,
if they, like somebody would ask, "Hey, Mr. Westbrook, who are you? What are and
Yeah.
he would give you his bio. You say, "Oh man."
Yeah. Well, my dad's kind of, he's people would come up to him and still, but he's kind of doesn't really want to, talk about all
Oh
that. But
no.
yeah,
That's part of the whole character is to be
yeah,
so humble.
right.
You
He's
know.
very humble for what he does. Yeah,
Yeah.
without a doubt. And he's a fan. Just I'm very obvious. I would be a little bit biased, but I think my dad's one of the best coaches ever as a youth coach. I want to
Yeah.
emphasize youth because people say
Yes.
he's not Harry Keel or he's not.
No.
Hey,
No. Yeah.
I
Right.
understand that, but my dad is a youth coach. I
Yes.
can't say there's. I mean, he is the
Yes.
top. Wait, he's one of the top, without a doubt. So,
Yeah.
but
I
might be biased.
right. I have special memories with your father. Uh,
Oh, thank you. Yes.
yeah. And from personal training and for watching him from the sidelines,
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
look at
I mean, he's so
how.
positive with kids.
Yes,
You know.
exactly. And the responses that the kids leave when he talks to them.
Oh,
You
yeah,
you
without
say,
a doubt.
yeah, you
Yeah.
say, man, what did he do?
Yeah.
I got to remember that.
Yeah,
But
he's got
uh,
that gift, where people come up to him and
yeah,
just, I mean, he's always got a smile on his face. Well,
yeah,
that's number one. But
yeah.
yeah, he just loves being out there, and he can still do it, and he's gonna do it till he doesn't feel like he can do it, and
Well,
so we do it, together.
I,
On two Mondays and Wednesdays, and then with the games on the weekend. So can't say enough about him.
well, I'm forever linked with your father
Yeah,
because my aunt was your mother's best friend.
right,
Yeah,
right, exactly.
and they used to double date, and
Yeah.
then yeah, and
How
then
about that?
yeah, and then your dad taught me. I said T for true.
Exactly. Oh yeah, that's for sure.
I mean, there it is.
Oh yeah,
He said
yeah.
what? Oh, yeah, and that there it was is you know using the lower hand to scoot, parry a ball on
Right.
the ground,
Yeah.
than rather the top hand. You know,
Yep.
I
Yep.
was the I guess I don't know some Irish international, going with the top hand over the crossbar.
Right.
But the ball's on the ground. You got a different hand. Yeah,
Oh yeah.
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 And then you make the T there. You say,
Exactly.
yeah. You say, oh my, and that was the deal. Is that far as I don't, you have to vouch for me, but I loved practices. I
Oh yeah.
because the guys how the training was.
Oh yeah.
If you
Yeah.
have good coaches, the training is like, oh man, this is so good that
Oh
yeah,
yeah. Without a doubt.
and,
I mean, just the friendships that. I mean, the most important for me was just the friendships that we made over the years. But you know, if you recall, Kev, we played when we were in high school. At least for your 4 years, you played in the winter. And you remember when we used to run down to the
uh,
Jewel box from
uh,
CBC and then
yeah,
train and then run back. But I'll never forget when it was almost Christmas time, you had the whole team doing Christmas carols, and we would run as a group, and it was just that just made whether
yes,
we won or lost, whatever at CBC, the
yes,
the friendships and how close we were as a group. And I'm sure, the Rosaries, the Slews, the Smets, they were all the same. But that's what was so important for me, with just the friendships that we had
yes,
with doing that kind of stuff. It was just fantastic. And you think about it, these guys are still our friends. We had a
yes,
reunion recently. The guys that I grew up playing with, like Chris Sealflesh, from CBC, and other guys around the neighborhood. And we just we had a reunion, Dave Bursick, um, and it was just so cool to get together, with all these years that have passed, and we're still friends.
yes,
That's the most important thing for me.
yeah. And you don't
So,
even get, comp emos.
Oh yeah, Emos was well, it was that was a great special team. Obviously, they're and I'm sure if the Northsiders are listening to this, you got the Celtics up there. They were just like they were just like it was. Back then there wasn't all these different teams and these different cups, but at that age group it was the Emos and against the Celtics. What a rivalry! And those guys were such great players.
Yeah.
And then, when I was a kid, I would go down to Crownland Park and watch Seco play. Yes,
Oh man. Yeah.
and Steve Cacciatore and
Oh
those
man.
guys. Oh my
Yeah.
God, it
But
was
you
fantastic.
but you didn't hear me. That Emos doesn't give you free pizza for life.
No, no,
Oh,
no.
come on, man. I put you on the map.
Exactly. Well, my brother used to when he owned it, but he doesn't own it anymore.
Oh, yeah, that's beautiful, man. And by the way, does your brother have a place?
He's got a place called Yoklore. It's a
Yeah.
breakfast place over there off of Watson, and I think he's doing pretty good over
And
there.
that's well certified. That's a well certified place there.
Perfect.
Yeah, baby.
Yeah.
So that's, you go in there and you mention soccer. Holy cow.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah.
Get free
But
coffee.
but then you transferred over to Terry Minkler and hear, that type of methodology, and then you go
Oh
to
yeah.
Yaley,
Yes.
Jerry, how you pronounce his name?
Yeagley from Indiana. Yeah, he
Yeah,
was.
yeah,
Yeah.
with several St. Louisans, and
Oh yeah.
you're
Yeah.
there. You're always in the hunt for the national championship.
Right. Absolutely. The year before they went to the final, which was which was Mike Freitag, who's a year ahead of me, and that's the first year they went to. But Yeagley was smart. He came in and he got the guys. I guess at first the leftovers were Slew didn't want him, SIU, Flo and Merrimack, all those Quincy, um, and brought him up there, and a lot of guys that were under the radar were really, really good players, like a Tom Redmond, for example. I mean, what a great player! And then, and then next class, that class would be like Freitag and Joe Ander, Timmy Walters,
Yeah,
But then, as it grew, as he developed his, Indiana, I mean, he almost had first choice of players. You're picking up a Noonan and Chris Klein or
yeah, right.
yeah. I mean, those guys were heavily wanted by Slew and obviously
Yeah,
SIU and whoever, but they chose Indiana instead. So
right,
I think the table turned a little bit. But hey,
right,
I'm still happy that Slew and SIU and all
right.
those other schools are very good too. But yeah, a lot of St. Louis guys wanted to go up there. They wanted to get away, and it was close to home. 4 hours, and you always
Right.
played a competitive schedule, so
Oh
that
yeah,
was a good thing. And like you said, they're always in the hunt for a national championship, so that's
right.
that's a good
One
thing
of
for
my
Indiana.
fondest memories was going to Francis Field where you guys were playing
Yeah,
uh, the
yeah,
Billikens, and you guys won. And going onto the field afterwards and seeing you and Fry and
that's right.
Jalen,
Yeah.
I mean,
Oh yeah,
wow. Yeah, I get
yeah.
goosebumps just even telling the story.
Oh
But it
yeah,
was like you guys were surprised I was there.
yeah. Right. I
Yeah,
know.
yeah. But my gosh. And
Yeah.
so the whole deal is that goes, and American soccer at that time kind of like, I don't know, man. And
Oh
so
yeah.
so you have to look towards the indoor, and you guys play for the Colorado Avalanche. That was a different team. Sorry, that wasn't you.
Yeah. I
You
was at
went to which?
Wichita.
Yeah, you
Yeah, I was
guys
at Wichita.
split up, but there was
Yeah.
Ghost was there, Keith Gearley.
Yes. Yes.
Eh,
Keith Galen, Mike Powers.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah, you reuniting with Mike Powers.
Oh yeah. We grew up as kids, me and Mike, and I got pictures of me and Mike when we were little kids all the way up to 35, 40 years. But
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
yeah, another great.
professionals. Yeah,
Yeah,
and the
another great friend.
Wichita Wings is that you bend them like what's that guy Chapman?
Oh,
you curve them
yeah.
like Chapman.
Chapman, Kim
Y-
Runfed, Jurgen Christensen,
Yeah.
Norman Piper. You could learn a lot from those guys, that's for sure.
Oh, yeah.
The one thing I'd have to say is, boy, Roy Turner, our coach, he'd get so upset because, at the time we'd lose to the Steamers. It was a big rivalry. And then
Yeah.
the first year I was there, we lost. And the second year, we beat them in the playoffs. But yeah, that was always a great rivalry. The Wings and the Steamers, great rivalry.
Oh, yeah. But your Andy Chapman, his
Oh yeah,
father taught Beckham how to, how to bend.
probably. Yeah,
He did. Yeah.
I think she did. Yes.
Yeah. And then he would say, is either his father or uncle. And then he told him, you curve him like Chapman.
Wow, unbelievable.
Yeah. And he loved your father. When your father must have went up there and really made it a
Yeah,
great impression on everybody.
yeah. Well, he'd hang out and then the guys would say, "Who's that?" And Roy let him come down and meet everybody, and that was really cool. I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
that was really neat. So
Right. And then you go to play a little outdoor with the
yeah,
Detroit Express, I
Detroit
believe.
Express. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Played there for 3 years in Detroit. We won the championship in 19. Let me see, 81, 82. There was like 40,000 fans there
Yeah.
at the Pontiac Silverdome, and we
Yeah.
had four St. Louis guys on the team. It was
Exactly.
myself. Yeah, we had myself, Mike Powers, Paul Turn, another cadet, and Ray Schneckecke, Ray was just a phenomenal center back. I mean, that guy
Right.
never lost a head ball. You
Never.
know?
Never. That pendulum, that that is the method on how to do things.
Oh yeah, yeah,
The
right.
Brazilians use it. Yeah, I mean the
Yeah.
whole world uses it, but
Oh yeah.
not in America.
No, no, no.
No.
Yeah, it's a lost art, pretty much. You
Well
know,
said. Yeah. I
a
mean,
lot of kids. I mean, if you don't start heading the ball to a fifth or sixth grade or whatever, I think it's about that age. And then as coaches, we expect these kids to know how to head the ball right away. And it's like, the ball's in the air and you say head it. Well, they don't know how to head the ball. And it's like you're right. We haven't taught them that yet. And
mm,
so by the time they're in playing eighth grade, they're just learning how to head the ball properly. Well, that's a little late as far as I'm concerned, but
wow.
oh well, that's part of the game, and you just got
Yeah.
to deal with it, I guess.
Exactly. Right.
Yeah.
So the story go, and then coming from St. Louis, the head ball was like a Denny Vanager made a career out
Oh
of it.
gosh, you think of Vinegar, and how about Carenza? You
Oh,
know, you know,
Gene
it's
Geimer.
Gene Guy. How about that? And he's a little bit younger, but that Trichu guy could hang in the air forever.
Oh my
You know,
gosh.
Oh, and one guy our age, well, he was a senior when I was a freshman, but Petcher, man, he could head the ball.
And
He
let's
was
not.
so good in the air and with
Yeah.
with Petcher.
Yeah.
And Ebert, that was my age, was so good in the air. He was a
Yes.
great goal scorer, but
Yeah.
those guys,
Uh,
and of course Ray Schneckecke was just unbelievable. Kev,
w-
when we won a over 30 national championship, and somebody goes, "Hey, who was on your team?" I said, "Well, we had Mikowski." And well, who else you have? I said, well, we had Mikowski. Oh yeah, we had Ray. We had Mikowski and Ray. Oh come on, who else you have? Well then, I'd say those two guys were just incredible.
oh yeah.
We had Ty, on the team, and but I'm like,
And
who do you have on your team? Oh, we had Mikowski and Ray. those two guys,
yeah.
those two guys were just
Yeah.
incredible. You know,
And
and Ty would come in, and of course he controlled the whole game after he'd cut, but after he did his hour stretching, he'd play, make sure that we didn't lose the last 30 minutes, and by the time he was over 30. But how he was so smart, he'd direct everybody. But like I said, we had Mikowski and we had Ray. So
and,
those guys were the two
and
top players.
yes, and one of my favorites, all time favorites, Don Draghi, DD.
Oh yeah, without a doubt. I mean, that goes without saying there.
Yeah.
without a doubt. I don't think the guy ever lost a head ball, did he? Ever?
not in any story, and you can't meet somebody who said that he did. Maybe Greg Villa outdid him,
Oh,
and then he landed on the ground.
that's right. That's right.
So
Oh, Donna was so special. Yeah,
yeah,
without a doubt. Yeah.
so we got to tell the story, and we tell it in a good-hearted way, but it's humorous. When a guy that went to George's Mahalovich's school,
Uh-huh.
he his uniform would be clean without a
Oh,
doubt in the back, but his front would be a little something. But he never slid or fell down or anything. You remember
who,
that guy?
Mouse?
No, Mark Krause.
Mark.
Mark
Oh,
Krause.
Mark. Oh, so I forgot Mark was there. He's another player that was just had that ball on a string. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Mark Krause. Yeah, he was. Yep, you're right, Kev. When it got a little dirty, it was like, where's Mark?
But
Yeah.
that was a product of really knowing the fundamentals of the ball.
Oh yeah, he had that ball. He was all, he had that left foot. He was so good at it, and I just wish he had a little bit more drive because he could have been such a really good player. But he just was kind of a laid back kind of a guy. I mean, very very good. I'll tell you another guy that was at Georgia. I forgot all about it, but this guy named Ed Cordes, and we talk about juggling. Mr. Mihalovich would have us out. We do this drill, okay? The jugglers. Who can do the most juggling. This guy named Ed Cordes, he went to Pattonville. I don't think he played after high school, but he could juggle. Him, Tommy Malley, a guy by the name of Wally Betts who showed up every once in a while. And then when Ty showed up, those four were out there. I mean, George would finally blow the whistle. Okay, you guys do enough. I mean, they were doing like 200, 300 juggles, at a time. And,
Wow.
and then, we'd all line up and do it first, but I would get up to like 30 or
But
40 and I'm like, oh man, I'm doing great. But those guys were incredible. And they had the ball. Mark Krause was another one that could do it too. Those guys just had the ball on a string. They
I,
were very, very good with the ball.
I never seen it, but they said that Billy Baumhoff used to do 1,000, and then he said, "Do I have to stop?"
Oh my gosh. Holy cow. Wow.
Yeah.
I think Daryl Durant was another one that could
Oh
juggle the
yeah.
soccer
How
ball
about that,
too.
man?
Yeah, I think he was one of those kind of guys too.
Man, what a soccer family they come from.
Oh yeah, yeah,
He's
yeah.
still playing the older brother
Oh yeah, Don. Yeah,
with the World Cup
yeah,
United. Well,
yeah,
that brings us to your. I mean, it just was wonderful going to the old barn, the arena, to watching you play
yeah.
and talking, and the whole idea was the what you have been through and what you have heard from the people that came before you.
Oh yeah. I mean,
What what
like I
is
said, I always look up to the older guys. Especially when I was just to put in perspective, as a freshman playing against juniors and seniors, I was in awe.
yeah
And I always looked up to those kind of guys that were older than me, and I just think that you need to respect those players because you can learn from them. Number one, I would hang out in the background and learn from them, and then try to do what they did.
yeah
Again, I can't say enough about the guys that I played with, and like I said, Denny Doherty was such a nice guy.
yeah
Besides
man
being a good
still
player, and he
is.
would take you, yeah, and he would help you at George's too. Like he'd even be your partner. Imagine that. I'm a little third grader, and he's a seventh grader, and we're doing the things together. I mean, he
Yeah,
didn't have to do that. But
right, right.
those kind of guys, Roy Thee was the same way. They take you under their wing, and you learn from them.
Well,
And then your friends later. Rest of your life.
that brings me to paying for the question. Can you give me the Westy outlook about American soccer from top to bottom?
Ooh, boy, that's a tough one, but it's a little bit different from, from when we were playing. I think there was, gosh, there was a lot of commitment back when at least I played. I think in order to, you talk to kids nowadays, yeah, I want to be a pro soccer player. That's great. That's great. Well, how are you going to do that? What's your plan? I mean, for me, yeah, I went to the Stars game. I wanted to be a professional player. How did I get there? Well, shoot, I practiced Monday. I practiced Tuesday. I practiced Wednesday. I practiced every in a day that ended in a Y. A lot of kids today just, practice on their days where there's, their training days. But you got to do something. You got to keep going farther, on your own after that. Just not the days that you train. Get up to the schoolyard or get a friend, get against the wall, juggle the soccer ball. I use all those things that Mr. Mihalovich taught me. You know, I wanted to be out there in that juggling contest. Well, how could I do that? I had to get up to Werner School, it was right by my house. I'd go up there and just juggle or kick the ball against the wall nonstop. It was, I mean, I had the ball all the time, but that's something I wanted to do. I mean, I wanted to be a, professional player in some way. And the only way you can do that is if you got to do it on your own too. Besides, the days that you play. So it takes a lot of hard work. It takes a lot of discipline. There's it's wide open for these kids nowadays because you got the MLS, you got indoor still, you got a pathway. A lot of kids have a pathway to Europe or abroad. You got the USL. There's so many teams now, and not only that, if you want to remain in the game too, there's being a youth soccer coach or a director of coaching. You could be a referee. There's just more opportunities for people to continue to be in the game, today than there was when we were growing up.
Yeah.
So that, but you got to do it. I mean, I love when kids would, want to come to training all the time and have their proper gear on, and it just makes me think they're gonna really succeed, and that's the way I hope that the game continues, and I hope that uh, it just keeps going like that. It's definitely growing. I think it might be some of the teams are watered down, right now where you got. I'm not bashing anybody, but if you're with one club or a couple clubs, they have 16 teams per age group, and it's like, holy cow, is it? Are we developing? Are we just doing it as a business? Are we helping everybody? Some kids get lost when they're on that eighth, ninth team, and don't get to go up and play on the other team, and you're spending a lot of money too. I mean, it's not cheap nowadays um, to play, and I wish there was some way that we could reduce costs for kids. There's a lot of kids out there that need help that
Yeah.
they could play. So
So the whole idea behind America after this World Cup is to get back to why. Why are we doing this? Why are we doing that? And to have firm commitments and to say that there is a great divide between recreational and competitive soccer.
without a doubt,
Yeah,
no,
and one cannot. When you're recreational, man, you just can't come on for it. But the love of the game, for God's sakes, I mean, you're talking about a senior league that you would be. They would say, "Wales, you're in your late 30s. You gotta stop. Come on, I'm on it. Come on, I'm on it. Because you love the game you play,
without a doubt,
and,
yes.
and you want to play with your other players to show off a little bit. Uh,
Oh yeah.
yeah, because you want to be uh, that guy that Westy mentioned. We got Ray and Greg. I mean, you know,
Absolutely,
yeah.
yeah.
And so, and coming from you, that's a compliment. because people
Well,
say, we got you,
yeah,
we got a
no, those
Westy.
guys were special.
Yeah, we got a Westy. There were so many of them, everybody's a Westy.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I played with some really, really great players, and I just love, I always, like I said, I always looked up to everybody that was older than me, and then,
Yeah.
I wanted to be like them. I mean, like you said, Don Draghi. Of course, I forgot to mention him, but man, I wanted to be like Draghi, But I mean, there was only one Don Draghi,
Right,
but boy,
right.
I would try to emulate my after his game,
Yeah, man.
such a, but I wasn't as strong as him or
No,
as good as the air like him, but
right.
but I still try to be like him. But of course, I wanted to be like Ty. I wanted to be like, you
Exactly.
know,
And be
I
like
see some
Tommy
people have
Malley. Be like Malley
absolutely.
running to Hong Kong.
Oh yeah, but that's just how I was.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
always did that. So, you know, but
Well, it comes to that time of Wales Certified uh,
yes, sir.
that we'll start with this. Everybody else is Wales Certified Hall of Affinity, and now we got the old man, Steve Westbrook, leading.
Perfect,
He's in it. He's got a special place with him and his family uh,
perfect.
at Wales Certified Hall of Affinity.
Oh,
Uh,
that's awesome.
yeah, I have a
I'm gonna have
certificate.
that on my tombstone.
Palumpo. I got the certificate for you. Drop by the house. It'll fold it.
Perfect.
Yes. And you, or I'll give you these business cards that you could even will certify people.
Perfect.
Okay. So, but lastly, we always
Yeah.
end it as saying, "Hey, Steve, whatever you want to say to who you ever want to say it to, for as long as you want to say it for."
Well, Kev, first of all, I'd like to, thank you for having me on today. It's been a pleasure and an honor. I'd just like to thank all my coaches, whoever I had coaching me, from Mr. Mihalovich to Fran Rich, of course, Mr. Mickler, my father, um, Jerry Yeagley, and then and beyond. And without those guys, I probably would never have been the player that I would have became. Of course, like I mentioned on the call, without the friendships, it was just incredible with the friendships that I've made throughout my playing days, and I continue to have those guys as my friends, and that's something I'll live with the rest of my life. And that's the most important thing for me, was just the friendships that we made. We won some, we lost some, but we won together, we lost together, and the
Yeah.
guys that I played with are just so incredible, that they're so, you know, deep to my heart, that, they're just guys that I'll go to bat with, or to foxhole with. I just love being with those, with all
Yeah.
my ex teammates, and
Right.
hopefully I can pass that on to the kids that I'm coaching, because the friendships you make, for me, is just the most important.
Yeah. And to a person, you're one of our best friends,
Thank you,
Westy.
thank you, Kev.
Is that it's
Thank you
really
so much.
neat to know you, man.
Hey, thank you, Kev.
Well, I have that age show, and I forgot to mention this is the time for the JB Marine. Go have
Hey,
at it. Tell
yes,
people about
sir.
you. How can they get a hold of you and be coached by you? And Pete Galico and all the
Oh
rest of the
yeah.
coaches. The
Yep.
JB Marine. So
Thanks so much.
I'm a JB Marine guy.
Thank you, Kevin. Perfect. Thank you, sir.
Well, do you want to give how does somebody find you and how,
Well,
find the club?
the change is, they made the change this year, or next year. They're going back to the grade now. So I'm coaching kids from 8/1/2012 to 7/31/2013. And it's me and my father, and I hate to sound arrogant about it, but if you're not coming out and playing for at least my father, then it's not our loss. I'm sorry, but or at least come out for one of his trainings, because they're incredible. And like you mentioned, Pete Calico, I mean, he's coaching what, three or four teams over at JB, and he's got young kids, and he's developing them from the grassroots now, we have a good group of coaches over there. It's not a big club. We don't want to be a big club. We want quantity instead of we want quality. We don't need quantity, but
Yeah.
It's a very good club. It's a smaller club. It's not like Gallagher Fuse, and there's nothing wrong with Gallagher Fuse. Don't get me wrong. Those clubs have done a lot, for St. Louis. But if you want a smaller club and get a little bit more, what should I say, individual coaching, then hey, that's a good place to start over at JB. I'll leave it at
Nice.
that. Yeah.
And finally, to say, hey, congratulations, you married up.
Oh, without a doubt.
Yeah, yeah.
45 coming up next week.
Oh, beautiful, man.
Yep.
And
Thank you.
then I have to say, one of my Northside friends really molded you into the man you are now. Double E, Eddie Ernst.
Oh boy. Eddie Ernst. Oh gosh, what a great guy to work with.
Yeah.
I mean, that guy has the gift of gab and knows everybody. I don't think there's a person, in the business world that he doesn't know. I'm not kidding you. The guy knows everybody.
Beautiful, man.
Yeah.
Okay. So,
all right, Kev.
Yeah.
Thanks so much.
You're welcome, man. This has been Whale Certified, and you too can be Whale Certified if you try.
Thank you, Kev.
All right, Steve. All right, Westy. Bye-bye.